is 8:11 Newstalk Sauga 960 Raw. Mike Richards along with David Bastl, and we are talking a little Stanley Cup this morning and Stanley Cup as it pertains to Molson Canadian, the Stanley Cup Batch. So who would we get to talk about that? You know, I need the good experts. I need the A-list. So where would I go for someone who's an expert on both things? Oh, I know. Brad May. That's where I'm going. I'm going to May Day. Brad May, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Great seeing you as well. And yeah, I'm really excited to be a spokesman for this campaign for Molson Canadian.
Yeah, how's that work though? Okay, look, we've known each other a long time. All of a sudden, yeah, this is a tough gig. You're pushing beer now? Seriously. How tough is this?
Hey, you know what the best part is I'm pushing beer that's been kissed by the Stanley Cup, Mike. This is unreal. So in the brewing process, the beer kissed the Stanley Cup, and Molson has put out a limited edition batch for all hockey fans to get closer to the Stanley Cup and that experience of drinking out of the cup. And I implore all of you to go out and buy a 6-pack of beer at select locations. But for me, I was so fortunate as a player, Mike, that I actually got to, drink out of the Stanley Cup and, have a ton of fun with it, party with it, celebrate with it with our friends and family in Stouffville and Markham and up in Mississauga. So very, very fortunate being a player and being able to win the Stanley Cup. I think it's 14 years ago. It's amazing how time flies.
14 years ago. Oh my God. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Like I only think I'm 20 still. So it's,
hey, we all do. Some of us not even 20.
No, it's great. But you know what? It's so cool. Molson's been such a great partner with the NHL alumni and NHL. And, for hockey fans, it's a possible dream come true that you get a little closer to that, age old, image that you've always watched when guys hoist the Stanley Cup and they're actually celebrating from it and with it. So go to your select location and buy your 6-pack.
Yeah, look for that silver Molson Canadian label too of the Kiss the Cup batch. So Brad, so you get traded from Colorado to Anaheim, and the Ducks have a jam-packed team, and they add grit and power up front with you during that run. In your wildest dreams, while you're making this run with the Ducks, and of course J.S. Jaguar was just simply outstanding. That was the Teemu Selanne team as well. Just a ton of players. I don't have to tell you who's on the backhand because it was brilliant. But when do you feel you guys are it's within reach? Like, you never take anything for granted, but you get a feeling, don't you, as an athlete, knowing that we legitimately have something happening here?
Yeah, we did. I can tell you, this team, when I got traded at the trade deadline, and I'm Ducks, they were very good throughout the whole season. But we had some injuries going into the playoffs, and adversity strikes at the craziest times. Chris Pronger was suspended twice in the playoffs. I was suspended for 3 games myself. We had a number of guys have surgery during the playoffs and come back and play. So we actually went into the bullpen, if you call it that, but the depth of the organization, I want to say 27, maybe 28, 29 players ended up playing in a Stanley Cup game. So you hear these teams that have injuries and they can blame it on that. You know what? Those are just excuses. Brian Burke built a huge, an amazing team of depth, but also obviously superstar talent. But I got traded there. I was, hungry, just like everyone else. But, one of the things I could do is I know how to celebrate. I know how to cultivate, positive energy, right? Like I'm a real positive guy. And I can tell you one thing, I didn't screw it up when I got traded there. So that was, because I was the only guy that was at it at the last day. So, it turned out, beautifully, wonderfully. And, just like all the fans in Canada can now, I got to drink out of the Stanley Cup. It was a dream come true.
Well, it's such a tough league to win in. I mean, the fact that you got to raise a cup, there are a lot of guys who are never going to get close to doing that. And there's not even a given that you get to a final. I mean, the league is so hard that, people talk about parity. And sometimes, I look at other leagues, the NFL, for instance, And there's a lot of middle ground, but that doesn't mean it's parity, Brad. That doesn't mean that they're all just as good. It means there might be a couple of elite teams and then just a whole bunch of stuff in the middle. I find Major League Baseball to be that way. The NBA, sometimes even worse. You have a couple of elite teams, and then there's just a whole bunch of lower ground. The NHL, for years, if you don't bring your A game on any given night, whoever that team is, and if you technically want to call them last place, so if you want to talk about the Ottawa Senators, if you want to throw some teams in there, you'll probably lose. You would probably lose. I mean, just ask the Maple Leafs. Just ask these teams that have a lot of talent who had to play the Montreal Canadiens, who a lot of people felt didn't belong there. Well, if you know guys who played in the show, and if you know what they've sacrificed to get there, they're not giving that up. It's a lifestyle and a paycheck and a world that they're not willing to just give you. So if you think it's going to be handed to you, that's where sometimes I look at teams about, and again, this is not the metrics, this is not how you analytics, how you measure people. Brad, it's about how much you want to win. You talk about being added to that Anaheim team. The reason that Burke would have done this is the attitude that you just talked about. That's what you brought to that team amongst anything else you had skill-wise and whatever else you had on the ice. It was that attitude about being positive. Who's not going to add that to it? He knew that. And that's what I think it takes to win, which is why our buddy Stammer, I take a look at what they're doing in Tampa Bay. Am I going to be surprised if the Bolts win a Stanley Cup? They look like they have everything going for them right now. They really do.
No, they do. And the interesting part, you're right. It's all about the chemistry, and those dynamics mean so much. And that's where, I just go, and not bagging on Toronto. You're wearing the toque. I played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Incredibly proud to be a Toronto Maple Leaf, but a couple of mistakes in the playoffs, right? Like the last couple games came from younger players. And by the way, these young players have a great career in front of them. Sometimes you have to, stumble and fall before you become successful. Mario Lemieux, first overall draft pick, and didn't win a Stanley Cup for 6 or 7 seasons. So there is a runway up to, becoming a good team, learning how to win. But veteran experience. I was in the league for 16 years when we won the Stanley Cup. Sean O'Donnell was in the league for 15, 16 years. Todd Marchant, same time. Rob Niedermeyer, maybe 14. Teemu Selanne, 15. And none of us had a sniff, of winning a Stanley. Actually, that's not true, because the Anaheim Ducks went to the Stanley Cup final in 2003 and lost. But beyond those guys, and the Edmonton Oilers, Chris Pronger's team, they lost in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. The rest of us, we didn't get past the second round, Mike. And it's because of that immaturity and not having enough experience. Older players that can play and contribute, right? That's the big thing. It's a fine line, and some teams, capture that, and other teams don't. But think about how hard it is to win. Tampa's been a great team for the last number of years, right? Mm-hmm. And you've had the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Chicago Blackhawks, two Stanley Cup champions in the last 10 years. In January 3rd, the St. Louis Blues were the worst team in the National Hockey League. And a few months later, they went on to win, right? The LA Kings snuck into the playoffs, their first Stanley Cup. They finished 8th in the West, and they went on a run, and they won 16-4. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, early was. Brad May joining us, Molson Canadian Stanley Cup Batch. Kissed by the Cup is out in stores right now, so check that out. Brad, let's get you into the dressing room of the Ducks win. How much Molson Canadian are we talking about as far as is poured into that cup over the course of the hours of celebration? I couldn't imagine what that dressing room will look like, and I'm guessing beer is obviously number one on everybody's choice. Well,
it is. It's just, as for hockey players, I'm not so sure. Today, these young guys, they just look like they're as sober as can be, and they're just flying out there. Listen, we lived on beer when we were playing, but no, being completely respectful, guys. I would like so much, but I don't know. Talking about alcohol and consumption as a former player, I want everybody to be safe and do all the right things.
Yes,
but
of course.
I can tell you this: go out, buy your I say little, but your 6-pack. Pour it in. It's already been kissed by the Stanley Cup, and you can actually be that much closer to the experience and that image that you see the players do. But I would say hundreds, thousands. You know what I mean? Like, it's over the course of time. Beer and hockey's gone. It's hand in glove. Obviously, when you're older than 19 or 21 in the United States.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good message there too.
How did I do?
Yeah. You're running for office now. I mean, wow, I'll tell you. Yeah. The other thing too is I'd also want to make sure who was getting the cup before me, because we all have those guys on the team. I'm like, who's got it before me? Okay, just sterilize it. Okay, just make sure you bathe that thing in boiling water before I get it, because there's some guys I'm not quite sure. And of course, our buddy Phil Pritchard, who goes around with the cup, he's still got that 1970s. Looks like he played in sticks. Flow going with the gloves and so on. He's a really good guy. But to think that it would have spent some time in hometowns, like it's just a very, people talk about professional athletes all the time. Usually it's their last name, and so they become these things, right? They're not people anymore. They don't see you growing up in a small town. They don't see your mom taking you to the local rink. They don't see the dad. They don't see that. And the one thing, and maybe you can speak to this too, because the first entry draft that I got to go to and cover it and actually be there was down in Minnesota. And so on draft night, there's all these guys. Again, I've used their last names. I know who they're going to be, but they're there with their family. And it reminded me very much of graduation, because they're there with their younger brothers and sisters. And sometimes those younger brothers and sisters can be like children. And so you see the grandparents, you see the parents, uncles and aunts, and you're like, that's their family. That's who that boy is. That's who that guy is. Maybe he's from Uxbridge. Maybe he's from Red Deer. He's still part of a family with grandparents, and they've seen him as a young boy work hard. And this is a moment. It is like graduation. And it takes away that okay, it's Mario, it's Wayne, they're supposed to go and get to a certain point in a place and time. Maybe historically that's what happens. But at that moment, Brad, you're just, well, depending on how you look at it, you're Brad May from Stouffville, you're Brad May from Markham. There's your parents, there's Daryl. That's the main family, right?
You know what? I couldn't say it any better than that, the way you framed it. The truth, we all come from somewhere, and we all have a history, and all those teachings and mentors and so many wonderful people that, you had to touch you to actually get to this, to that level. There's no doubt you just brought back a ton of memories, flooding into my head here, but, and it's a big head at that too, Mike. So, you know what? Yeah. My hometown, Stouffville, Ontario, right down the road from your house. Yeah. And, so Mike and I, full disclosure, we have a history. Grew up in the little town of Stouffville, which is now a big town. Yeah. But no, you know what? It's amazing. And you got crazy part for me is now when I'm looking at it and I'm watching that same day, that draft day, draft night, you've got families from all over the world. You have kids from countries I never knew existed when I was 17 or 18 years old getting drafted, and Anze Kopitar, Slovenian. And this guy is one of the best players that's ever played. You just go down the line from all these different wonderful players. And then not to mention all the teams and all the draft tables, right? With 20, 30 scouts and GMs. I mean, it's a massive business that plays on your heartstrings, and it's all about the fanfare and fan bases, and you want to win. 32 teams coming, but there's 31 teams in the NHL. There can only be one winner. That means there's only going to be 25 to 30 players that are going to play a game in the Stanley Cup final from round 1 to round 4 and actually have a chance to win the Stanley Cup this year. The other 750 to 950 players that played this year they don't have a chance. And it was really daunting. Anyways, when I got it, when we first saw our name on the Stanley Cup, and this is a great story quickly, we actually saw our name on the Stanley Cup in London, England, when we were playing the premier game against the LA Kings the year after the next season. And we went to the silversmith shop, who was commissioned to actually make the Stanley Cup in 1894. We got pictures in front of the silversmith shop in London, England. It was amazing. That was the first time we ever saw our names on the Stanley Cup. And then we started to think, like, how many names are on this thing, right? Like, I think it's 50. I'll get it wrong, but 56 teams or whatever it is around the band, like on the cup. There's not that many, because think of all the teams that won multiple times. The Montreal Canadiens have won it 24 times. Think of everybody else that played the game. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Final question for me, because I know we got to run. How often does the Stanley Cup ring come out, Brad? How often does yours come out?
It doesn't come out often.
Oh, the bar's around. Oh, come on. The bar's up around the cottage. It comes out.
Well, you know what? No, I don't wear it often because it's so big and beautiful.
Yeah.
Maybe a little uncomfortable because it's so big and but I don't know. I'm not a pompous guy, but on the other hand, I do take it to special events and around special people. I should wear it more. I should carry it with me more, but I'm just afraid that I would misplace it or drop it or something like that. So I just try to be safe, but yeah, it's the most beautiful ring that I'll ever own. And I even say that I tattooed my wedding ring on my hand. So that's a good ring, but the Stanley Cup ring, surpasses that 100%. So beautiful. Hey, by the way, my wife's not listening, so I'm okay.
Yeah. No, I'm recording this. I'm recording this together, just so you know. Brad, thanks so much for joining us here this morning. And I don't know if I've ever had a chance to say this, but on behalf of the town in Stouffville, we are always so proud of everything you did. You always. It wasn't just the play either. It was, quite frankly, it was the way that you were brought up. I think a lot about your mom, all the time, and just how well loved they were in that, and even the World Juniors, and I remember seeing, and I think your mom might have showed up on camera too. I'm trying to think.
I think she did. Yes,
I think she did. And of course, the town goes nuts. The town goes crazy. You always represented us so well, and always so proud of everything that you did, and anything that you got beyond that was just almost fantasy-like. So really, on behalf of guys like myself, Claude Millette, the McGugans, I mean, you go through the whole thing. It's cool that we've had someone like yourself representing our town, because you've done it as well as anyone could have ever represented our town. So I thank you for that, because that's really quite special for us.
That's really, really nice, and thank you very much for the kind words about my mom and dad, and of course my brother Daryl and everyone. I'm so proud to be from where we are from, and so proud to be a hockey player, and I'm really I'm thankful that I had a really nice career, was able to win, but I could be a spokesman for a great company like Molson and the NHL alumni, and literally encourage people to go out and buy their 6-pack of beer that was kissed by the Stanley Cup this year. Great endeavor by Molson.
Yeah, it certainly is. Brad, thank you so much. Have yourself a great summer. Hopefully get a chance to catch up with you again. But otherwise, just wonderful here this morning.
You got it. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Mike.
That is Brad May. What a wonderful moment. And again, sort of selfishly, it's like catching up with a neighbor too at the same time. That was really great. What they, of course, are talking about is that the Molson Canadian Stanley Cup Batch, and literally kissed by the cup. Pretty cool. Get yours today.